yes.
So the narrative that you put in the book, do you think has changed now after the ousting of the PM Sheikh Hasina?
I wouldn't think so, because while I argue also in this book and elsewhere that, it's important for the government because they bring in stability, they bring in peace, they give you a structure. But I've argued in this book and elsewhere too that it is Bangladeshis really who drive Bangladesh. So the Bangladesh paradox story is really that Bangladesh they were in between phases when they did 7.3% GDP, 7.8, but over the years, and we've seen Bangladesh go through many phases post Mujib 75 assassination, military rule for the longest time ever till 90, and then of course electoral democracy has returned. We are now seeing an interregnum period. We've seen other interregnum period during 2007 and 2008. But despite the political instability, the turbulence, Bangladesh's growth story has been unmatched.
True.
They've always maintained nearly 6% growth rate, if not more, through these years. But at the same time, it is only now, and I, wrote a book on Bangladesh's 50 years. And where I examined it a little more in details, and I realized that the shining story was getting a bit edged, and there were rough corners which were not coming out. But that book is all about now somebody has, the other day in one of our podcasts also returned to that particular book and mentioned that how I looked at the domestic factors and how the fact that the Sheikh Hasina, I think called it the hybrid democracy in that book at that time. It was very strong authoritarian tendencies were being seen at that point, quite evident. And the way she was, having a very close grip. Also the fact that there was a very typical overarching executive over. So the boundaries between the separation of powers that happens in government organs and bodies were not being visible. So much of that was unfolding. And also last more than a year and a half, I would say Bangladesh's economy was really doing badly. It was going down slowly down the rabbit hole. Nobody was taking notice about it. Of course, I'm sure Bangladesh was aware of it. It is still struggling. IMF has given them a loan of 4.9, roughly about that much. I think the third tranche was given to them in July. Of course, they're asking for reforms and restructuring. What I just hear is the interim government has requested for another 3 billion. So clearly, there's much to be, because Bangladesh, again, while have done tremendously well, and I think that's the spirit of Bangladesh, really. Bangladesh is by themselves very hardworking. The entrepreneur skills are very evident. And also, one advantage Bangladesh has always had, that it's not been controlled from the top. It's not been imposed from the top. So the NGO was given free hand. I mean, Professor Yunus, who's now leading the interim government, was the leader of Grameen Bank, right? The microcredit system, where small group could ask for money, and that really transformed. So Grameen Bank, Pro Shikha.
Diary of a publisher. Here we don't just talk, we explore, question, and push beyond the ordinary. And if you're ready to see things from a fresh perspective, you're at the right place. Make sure to subscribe. We're just scratching the surface, and the next conversation might just change how you see the world.